Hey y'all, welcome to Stivers Homestead. I'm Zach.
And I'm Jen.
And welcome to truly the first official garden tour of 2022.
So we got here almost 2 years ago, and the first thing we did was put in our kitchen garden, which you all have seen. But we still wanted a bigger place to grow food last year, so we did it out there.
Way over there where the cows are now.
Yeah, it's a cow pasture now. That was terrible. We did in-ground, which we've done before and we love, but over there it was awful. There was too many pests, rabbits, squirrels, crawdads.
Crawdads were our worst enemy.
Yeah, and just things from everywhere. It was terrible. It was a really bad experience. It was a bad gardening year, although we did can and put up food. So this year,
really good pepper year though.
Yeah, it was a very good pepper year. But this year we made a permanent solution. So first we're gonna show you the kitchen garden and then we'll show you that.
And we apologize. There is construction right there and they're driving us crazy. They're on like day 4 putting up a guardrail. It's insane. All right.
Okay, so this is the kitchen garden. The idea was that we could come straight out, harvest our herbs or our peppers, tomatoes, just a few small things that we could have right outside of our door. So we've got mostly herbs, but this year we are trying something new. So this whole L right here are sweet potatoes. They're sweet potato slips. We got them from Morgan Seeds. It's a company we've never used before, but so far we're very pleased with them. So we planted those yesterday. About how many do you think?
It was 100 slips. And so, you know, they look all squirrely and everything, but that's just from the travel and they'll bounce right up real quick.
And we went ahead and mulched them with some straw, which was a really bad idea looking back because the chickens love it.
Yeah.
But I think it's gonna be really cool. So sweet potatoes, they just totally vine out. They're gonna vine out all over these beds. It's gonna be beautiful.
Okay, first thing you're gonna notice before she even shows you any more beds. This is a problem. This looked so pretty last year, and it's all really expensive, good weed tarp. And then we tried to put some black mulch on top of it. Well, here we go, folks. Yep. That's what it looks like now.
Don't waste your money.
Don't waste your money. Just figure something else out in there. But it is growing some dill that reseeded out. Show 'em.
So last year I planted thyme in the bed. Well, the thyme decided it not want to be in the bed. It's now out here. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to dig this up. Maybe, I don't know, I might just leave it. And I might put it back in the bed. I don't know. So over here we've got the thyme. This little section is empty. And over here we have mountain mint. So the mountain mint is taking over, which is what I wanted it to do. And that's why I've left the rest of it empty, just because I want it to have the whole bed. We love mint for everything. So it's good thing to have. And I'll cut it back if it gets too crazy. There is a little bit of oregano coming up that I planted last year. It's the kitchen garden and it's kind of wild. So we're just gonna let it be wild and let it do what it does. Last year I planted chamomile here and I decided to do the same. Some of it reseeded itself and it's coming back up. These are having just a little bit of transplant shock, but that's okay. We always start our chamomile from seed. It always looks like that, a little bit of yellowing, and then it gets better and it goes nuts and takes over everywhere. So that's kind of the little chamomile bed. We love chamomile for everything. And then this is lemon balm. That's my big lemon balm bush, which has decided to make another one, which is really good. And then we've got dill that just reseeded itself everywhere. We're just gonna let it go because we use a lot of dill. There's also some out here.
Yeah,
and
stepping on it.
Dill just does that, you know. I mean, all herbs do. They just reseed and then take over, and you can fix it or just let it be.
And so like the chamomile and lemon balm especially, that's 2 big tinctures that she makes. So that's something that we need an abundance amount of. And it goes quick. I mean, you use it up pretty fast. So you want it to take up a pretty good size room.
You want to have as much as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. So I really hope last October when I told you how to do this now, you planted your garlic with me. Because as you can tell, this is not corn, this is garlic. We're only a couple months away, maybe a month away. And the reason we know that is because right here, we are starting, this is what we call a garden scape. So garden scapes are very useful. You can make different kinds of paste and garlic paste out of them, but this is now taking the energy from the bulb of the garlic. So when you start to scape, you want to cut them off, and it's very simple to do. Don't think too much into it. If I can get my daggone scissors out of my pocket. You literally just want to cut down and cut that scape off, just like so. And you're gonna want to do it for all of them. This allows this plant to produce its energy back into the bulb and not into the scape. But don't throw these away because they're very useful.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you want to use them, you can. You can use them just like garlic. You can make some kind of pesto out of them. You can just spread it like you would garlic. or you just cut it off to let the plant have the energy back. It's up to you, but we use them because we don't let anything go to waste.
God, I wish you could smell it. It smells like a green onion down here, and then you get the actual garlic up in here. So I apologize. I was saying gardenscapes. I meant garlic
Like
scapes.
the game,
Gosh,
the
darn.
Facebook game.
So it's really early. I
It
know it
is.
doesn't look like it, but it's really early, and we just got doing chores, and I had to do something kind of gross.
Yeah.
My mind ain't right, and I ain't had enough coffee yet.
Yep, and that's why it's so shady over here. It doesn't stay like this, but it is very early morning, and our sun is up, but it hasn't quite tipped over the mountains yet, so we got a lot of shade. Okay, well, he's cutting his gardenscapes. I'll show you this bed. So there's a lot going on over here. It hasn't really been cleaned out yet because we are still using some of it. This is our romaine lettuce. It's still doing really, really good. We're still eating off of that, and it has not bolted yet. I'm sure we don't have long, but we'll see how it goes. This is our kale. We've been telling y'all that we're saving the seeds from this. That's why we've let it go to flower, we've let it bolt. But they're not quite ready to harvest yet, so we're just letting that hang on, and then we are going to save all those seeds that you can see right here. They just need to get a little bit more dried out, and then that's going to be a ton of kale seeds for us. That's a really good thing to do, and that way you always have your seeds. This bed is still empty, but I think we're going to do the same thing that we did last year, which was plant our leftover tomatoes and peppers, and then that'll be able to be in our kitchen garden, so that if I just need a quick tomato or a quick pepper, I can just come right out and harvest it. And last but not least, it looks majestic. The comfrey. So some of it's starting to flower. We're actually going to cut those flowers off and move them to a different location so that hopefully it can reseed and we can just kind of have some comfrey everywhere. And it also is time to clip our leaves and hang them to dry so that we can make comfrey salve.
So the one thing about comfrey, yeah, it's bright. Hang on, turn, or go this way. There we go, that's better. One thing about comfrey is it can spread by root and seed. I think some will tell you that there's two totally different species, but honestly, in our experience, they both, any of them do the same thing, like from seed or root. You can take cuttings from this, you can go down and just get a cut of the root, place it somewhere, and that's fine, or like she said, get the seeds out and actually try to plant them. I think the easier way is definitely on the root way because you've already got an established plant, but if you got the seeds, don't let them go to waste. All right, so now Jen is exiting the kitchen garden, and over here is our real garden. Real garden, our big, oh, wow. Man, I needed more coffee before we did this. Our big garden. But before we get there, we do have this little bed that we placed here. These are blueberry bushes on year 2. So they, we planted them last year, so they're still fairly small. And then, cat. And then over here is another one. Did you get it taken care of? So yeah, so we have 2 blueberry bushes that are on year 2, and then this is 2 cherry bushes that are also on year 2. You can definitely tell the difference in size that they have because they both were very small last year. But we're excited to see what happens on this cherry bush. If y'all have grown cherry bushes, let us know down in the comments what to expect, because the size of them would indicate to me that we might get a cherry.
But there's no blooms yet.
Yeah, there's no blooms, so that obviously indicates that mom are not getting a cherry. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, they're both doing really, really well. All right, Jen and the guard dog. What's up, Rusty? Hi, Rusty. All right, so right here we have our green stock and our green stock right at the entrance of our gate. We have strawberries on this one, which they were just slips that we planted last fall, so we didn't expect a whole lot this year. But next year, hopefully we can get a good strawberry harvest. There is still some starting to pop up on there. It just won't be a crazy amount. And then over here, we have some lettuces and kales and cabbages that we're trying to see what it'll do, and just kind of experiment. So like Jenna mentioned, this is our permanent garden. When we moved here, we didn't want to jump into too many raised beds or permanency, and something that we hadn't really got the garden in. Like she said, it was a rough year last year. It was way too hot. Not just for us, but for the plants. Like, it was 0 shade ever. And contrary to popular belief, your plants do like a little shade. Now, they don't like a lot, but they do like to cool down every once in a while and have cooler mornings or nights. and it just burned everything up over there.
Yeah.
So
we also had to figure out the water situation. So like areas where water collects or where it doesn't collect, and then where we are able to provide water for the plants.
Yes.
So that's why we moved to this yard. It used to just be a kind of empty. The dogs would run in it every now and then, but now we made our permanent garden over here. We moved our greenhouse so that it has good access to it. And overall, I think it's the prettiest yard, even before the garden. It's just beautiful. You can see the barn, you can see up at the cottage. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous yard with like old trees that give you some shade, and so you're able to sit under a shade tree, but it's not too much shade, and I'm really glad that we put it over here.
She's literally found her tree that she wants to be buried in.
Yes.
In the garden. We done, Ellie. So the greenhouse is here. It's basically empty. We've got a bunch of our stuff that we have there that we've been using, and some leftover tomatoes, like she said, that will be going in the kitchen garden. Before we get into the real girth here, I want to acknowledge that we did this yesterday.
Yeah.
So what was it, May? I'm trying to help you out with the date. It's like May 10th?
Yeah.
May 10th or something like that, May 11th. So it's gonna look good, and you're gonna hear a lot of things planted. But in our minds, we were behind.
Yeah.
Because really, Mother's Day is when we can start planting it in our area, and we felt behind ever since. What we're trying to acknowledge to you is it took us one day of really concentrating in the garden and making it a priority, and we caught back up.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so behind. Chill down, make it a priority this weekend, and you'll be right there with us.
I know you're thinking you have people to help you. No, it was just me and
Just
him.
us.
Even the kids were busy. Just me and him hustled and knocked it out in one day. So
Yeah.
you can too.
Yep, kids were schooling, mom was mowing, we were gardening. That was it. Okay, starting with this little area. So you all seen us talk about Jen's chocolate mint a lot. It's coming back with a vengeance, and it's so good. It's so good.
Talk about it with not eating it.
I know you can. It's just like having a little Andy's candy, right?
Yep.
Andy's candy, Andy's chocolate. All right, and then so moving into our flower bed. This is going to be pretty. So what are these called again?
They're Sweet Williams dianthus.
Sweet Williams dianthus, and they have just some gorgeous color. An Airbnb guest actually brought these to us. Okay, so yeah, she brought them. We love them. Then we move into Jen's nasturtiums.
So nasturtiums, we've grown them for 3 or 4 years now. We absolutely love them because they are edible. They also help with keeping pests away. You can eat the flower and the leaves, and they're just really pretty. Down here we've got some echinacea. It's double-decker echinacea. It's not one that I've planted before. That's obviously going to take a while to come to fruition, but when it does, it'll be beautiful. These little guys are all hollyhocks. They're going to be beautiful. They're having, you know, their slow start, but once they get up and running, they'll be so gorgeous to take over this area. These are all zinnias because Zach has to have his zinnias.
You better believe it.
They're all different kinds. And then down here, we've got what's left of the Sweet Williams that we planted here. And so they're on both ends with everything in between. Obviously, the hope is that everything will reseed, and every year this will just be a beautiful bed. This pretty little spot is the kids' garden. So they planted their garden early, but they wanted to, and we checked the weather, and it turned out that it was okay. So they've got all kinds of stuff in here. This is Wyatt's side. He's got some squash planted, some random pumpkins. He's got some cilantro, and then his tomato is doing really, really good. So that's exciting. He might have the first tomato. We'll see. And then he's got some zinnias back there. We put up this arch and these cute little things because it just makes it a little fun, inviting place for them to go. And then this is Raylan's side. She planted a pumpkin that's going to grow over the top of the arch because Wyatt didn't plant one over there. She's got all kinds of stuff. Peas, green beans, to her strawberry plant that she planted.
We tried to warn her that this bed's probably going to turn into a strawberry bed.
Yeah.
If it does, we'll make her another one.
We'll just make more. And then she's got her little butterflies in there that she loves. But both of their gardens are doing really, really well.
They really are. So, you know, everybody tells you it's important to get kids in the garden. And it is. It's important to have their interest in it, see if they like it. And the best way to really give them interest is allow them freedom to do something. I know y'all, I have a little OCD and anxiety when they start messing with that, like daddy's plants. But this is a great way for them actually to start learning their techniques. I didn't have any stress about what they wanted to put in there. No. Like, don't do that either. Like, don't say it needs to be this spaced out and this and that.
Or don't say it's too early or that's not going to make it.
Just guide them and let them make their own decision, and let them plant whatever crap they want to put in their beds.
Because then if it doesn't make it, they learn a lesson.
Exactly.
They learn about gardening, and then they get to replant.
Right, because that's just how I learned how to garden. and she learned how to garden. We failed a lot, and then we learned, and so it'll be teaching lessons. So we're excited for it. So here we have 4 apple trees that we planted last year, and they're doing great. I need to get some stakes and stake them so they'll keep going straight up, and then maybe pulling some of these branches down to train. But I'm just happy they survived, because I got something funny to tell y'all. Jen and I, throughout the process of our 9-year marriage, we have probably planted 40 apple trees.
We can have an entire orchard by now.
Yeah, but we moved. Like we just had a lot of shifting in our lives, and we've never been able to see a tree really the second year. So it's exciting to see these up and knowing that we might actually get to the point to where we can get a fruit off this tree. But then the birds will probably eat it. But either way, we're happy to see these apple trees for the 2nd year and are excited to continue to watch them.
So this is the pea bed. This is the first one that's down here in the garden. We put up the cattle panel trellises so that they could attach and grow up. They're not doing that. We've tried to assist them and everything. I mean, there is a few that have attached, and overall I'm really not satisfied with the way that these peas are doing. They've stressed me out a lot because I really wanted a good pea year. Now some of them are doing great, like this guy down here. He's growing. He's probably going to attach. I mean, a lot of them have, well, not a lot of them, most of them have decent size. This one does have a bloom, so that's promising. But at this point, I would really like to see all of them with blooms. Now, there is quite a few that do, but I really want all of them, and I would wish that they were like way up here. So I don't know, maybe it won't be the pea year I was hoping for, or maybe things will turn around and it'll be great.
So in this bed, not mentioned, to hopefully bring it back if it doesn't have a good pea year, is a lot of carrots that we direct sowed. And then on each corner of every single bed that we have are sunflowers planted. And I should mention, all of our seeds are coming from Haas Tools. So if you're curious on where we got any of them, go to Haas Tools and link down below. You'll find everything we're talking about in there. But yeah, so we planted all kinds of different colored sunflowers and sizes in every bed. It's just gonna be really pretty. All right, starting with these root bags, which we also got from Haas Tools. They have a bunch of different sizes that you'll be seeing here soon. This one's gonna be an interesting bed.
It is.
We don't know what's gonna really happen.
So last winter, somebody sent us tubers of Jerusalem artichokes because they reseed themselves by their tubers, and you can dig them up, and then if you don't want that many, you can either eat them or you can pass them on to people. She passed them on to us. It's something we've never grown, but we put them in the greenhouse. They went dormant over winter. They finally shot up their greenery in the spring, and then they were in pots, so we didn't have to disturb anything. We just dumped the pot straight in here, and it's gonna be interesting. I'm excited about it.
And maybe you all already know this, but I'm gonna tell you something that I learned last night. Jerusalem artichokes, like she had mentioned, is the root. It's a root veggie.
Yeah.
It doesn't grow on top like an artichoke would, and it doesn't look like an artichoke. It looks like ginger mixed with a potato is what it kind of looks like. And to our understanding, it is kind of like a potato, a sweeter, richer, crispier potato. So, who knew? Now you know. Okay, and this was planted when we talked about rebel gardening. This is all of our cabbages that are doing fantastic. Man, they look good, and they're really starting to get some good size on them. You can tell some heads are starting to form. And the best news out of all of this is we're in mid-May now, and there is not one bug bite on them, nope, which is very promising. However, she did get some netting and some poles for us to put up to protect them, because once they come, they're gonna eat it to pieces.
Yeah. So we're actually probably gonna put those up in the next couple of weeks, just to go ahead and be preventative, because we worked really hard on these. Yeah. We don't want them to get eaten. Now, they'll still have some bites here and there and a little bit of damage, but overall that netting should do a really good job.
Yeah, and so our plan, because there's a lot of cabbage, I think it's like 50 cabbage heads, a lot of sauerkraut.
So the second half of this bed is all broccoli. Wyatt's favorite vegetable, our son, is broccoli, green peppers, and all the green things. So he requested that we plant broccoli. So we did. We took it seriously, and we planted the whole end of this bed. It's going to be a lot of broccoli. We'll freeze dry it, and he'll eat a lot of it raw, to be honest. This guy's going to seed. It's making me mad. But the rest are doing okay, so hopefully they just calm down. But we've had a really, really hot spring.
All right, moving to bed number 3 here. This one is a variety pack bed. There's a lot of stuff in here. So starting off from this 4x4 all the way down, which I think is about 20 foot-ish, is all okra that we direct seeded. We have 3 rows, one here, one in the middle, and then one right there, all the way to the cattle panel. So we love okra. It's a southern staple. We wanted to grow plenty of it. The biggest thing with okra that you have to remember is you need to stay on it when it's harvest time. So if you're growing okra for one of the first few times that you've done it, you don't want them big, like at all. I know like zucchini, you're like, you know, it's seedy, but you can get the seeds out and it's still edible. Okra is not edible if you let it get too big. Just FYI, get them while they're small. Short and skinny, that's right. All right, and right here is about 6 zucchini and squash plants. I planted way too many last year. I still don't even really want zucchini or
6
squash.
is still too many, but
6,
it's okay.
Right. But it'll give us some that maybe we can just sell in the store. We'll call it that. And then over here is all of our peppers. Some didn't do as good as others when it came to starting, but it's gonna be a kind of a boring pepper year. It's a lot of just jalapenos, bales. I think I have a couple of jigsaws in here that are yellow monsters, but you know, just a small amount of peppers to keep us some freshness throughout the year.
Not all of those are our peppers that we started from seed. We did have to buy some. It's just what it is this year. Last year was wonderful. This year, not so much. So it's just a give and take that you're always doing.
Yeah, it's wild, but that's the only ones that we had to purchase some of. I don't know. I ultimately think it was because of the dirt that we used. We used the black gold in those, and it just stunted them. Everything else in the Pro Mix did great. But here on the end, we have some more root bags. We have a Mexican sunflower there and a Mexican sunflower there, which are beautiful.
This is a Job's Tears. So somebody brought it to me. I'm really excited to grow it. I don't know a ton about it, so if you do, let me know. I still need to do a little bit more research, but I'm hoping this will be a good little permanent spot for it.
Yeah, I'm just interested to see what it looks like. Right now it looks like a piece of grass.
Yeah.
This arch area, there's 3 of them, is gonna be beautiful at about July. So real quick rundown, loofah on that side and loofah on that side, just 2, that's all you need, I promise, it'll take over. The next one are cucumbers on both sides. And then the last one is pumpkins that we have on there. Some small pumpkin sizes that should hold just fine, but it is gonna be a pretty tunnel.
This bed is gonna be all green beans. So we're gonna do bush beans this year, no pole beans. They're supposed to come today, our seeds, because at the last minute we realized we didn't have enough. So they're gonna come from Haus Tools today, and we're gonna get this thing planted, and then the garden will be completely planted.
Y'all, this one I'm really excited about because last year, like I said, we had a really good pepper year. We didn't have a really good tomato year. And so far, our tomatoes are looking fantastic.
They switched the roles.
This they have. And every single one of these we did start. Nothing was ever purchased with these, which is fine to purchase. I don't want it to sound that way. I'm just acknowledging it. But these tomatoes, I mean, they look so healthy and have grown so much. What do you think? We've had them in here a week, maybe?
A week, yeah.
And I mean, they are just beautiful. This one has a tiny bit of leaf curl, but nothing that we're worried about. And they are just taking off. And I love to see it.
On this trellis down here, we planted some sugar baby watermelons. Those are the kids' favorite watermelons. They're so small, so this trellis can support them, and they'll be really pretty. And then on this side is what?
Kajari melons.
Kajari melons.
From our awesome friend, Mark.
Yeah, we thought we had used them all, but we found a leftover pack of seeds that he had given us from his garden. That was the coolest find ever, but we wanted to go ahead and plant them so that he can have a little space in our garden this year. So hopefully those will come up and then trellis over this, and it'll be really pretty.
And if you're unaware, Mark was one of our really, really close friends that passed away. So being able to find these seeds unexpectedly was awesome. So this little area is gonna be for Mark for sure. This one I'm excited about. And I know like half of y'all are gonna be like, you can't do that.
But
Watch
we've done it.
Watch
This
it.
is not the first time, so don't tell us we can't.
That's it. We have a 72-foot bed, 3 rows of peaches and cream, and what's the Silver Queen corn.
Yeah.
And so it ended up being about 100 kernels of corn that we put in there. Corn usually gives you 2 corn cobs. So that would be about 200 corn cobs that we would get out of this.
That's a lot.
That's a lot for our family. That would be great, and quite a bit for us to be able to preserve back. So if you've ever thought about it, and you're like, somebody told me I couldn't do corn in a bed. Yes, you can, because here's the big secret about corn. It's pollination, not germination. I'm trying to make sure I get my words right. Corn has to be in a box. So when you see a field, it looks like corns are in rows. That is accurate, but it is a big box because they have to sway on top of each other to pollinate. So 3 rows in a rectangle is a big box. So that'll allow them to do pollination fairly well. I'm hoping that there won't be any major issues. But the biggest thing is you can't just do one row of corn. They have to be side by side in a box form. This is Jen's tree. See her little chair right there? She loves, I love it too, don't get me wrong. This is a beautiful, perfect tree, but that's the tree that she wants to be buried under.
See that window? That's also our bedroom.
Right.
So
there.
every morning when we wake up, the first thing we see is the garden.
Yep.
It's beautiful.
It is, and then right here is the whole barnyard and our mountain. Where we head to next, babe?
Down here. This cattle panel trellis, we planted more vining stuff on.
Yeah. She said more vining stuff on.
I don't know what it is.
I clipped it because I remember. I'll put those in there, so I'm sure she didn't remember what they were. that was funny. I knew because I knew where it was going. This is cantaloupe and honeydew.
I chose that. I just didn't put the seed in the ground. And if you don't, then you can't remember.
Yeah, and ask us in about a month, and both of us will forget. As you'll also notice, there's not a whole lot of like steaks with names on them. We just don't do it. We have it on our tomatoes so we can try to remember some of our favorites, but for the most part, we know what we're getting from Haas, and we can just look back on that. Hey, come on, Bonnie. Things go show them what you got in your herb beds.
So I've got 6 of these beds, 5 by 5, and I wanted each one to have a designated herb. So this one is calendula. That's going to be awesome. There's a bunch of little seedlings that we started from seed, and they're going to grow and they're going to bloom. And hopefully this will be the permanent spot, because what I said was the permanent spot last year is not the permanent spot. So hopefully this will be the permanent spot. This one has 4 plants of lavender. That'll be great. We use that for tinctures and for tea. This one has 2 roselle hibiscus. So we started both of those from seed, and they're doing well. It's great for urinary stuff. And they also just have make a beautiful spot in the garden. It's hibiscus flowers, just like what okra does. They're gorgeous. So it'll turn into this big bush and just take over this whole bed. This bed is all oregano. We love oregano. I know I said I had some up in the kitchen garden, but this will be its spot so that it doesn't get choked out by something else. This bed is all basil. It's Italian basil and Genovese basil. Some are doing better than others. It's just the way that it goes. But we love basil, so this will be good. And last year I did Thai holy basil, and I absolutely hated it. So never again. I just need the normal, regular basil.
And the Thai holy basil, we don't like licorice, and it tastes like licorice. So if you're a licorice fan, you'd probably like it.
Yep. Last but not least is the rosemary bed. So it's small right now, but it'll bush out and hopefully take over this whole thing. I've had trouble with rosemary before in the past, but what I've learned is that it likes really well-drained soil. So I think this will be a good spot, and it'll just be big.
And I really hope that by the next week when we do another garden tour to check y'all in, they're freaking done.
They gotta be.
Yeah, it's usually so quiet and peaceful on our property, and there's hardly any traffic, but they're stopping everything and making all kinds of ruckus. Rusty, stay on guard, bro. All right, so there it is. That is our garden of 2022. As you can tell, a lot of things were direct sowed, so stay tuned. Yeah. We'll be seeing a lot more sprouts coming up within the next week or so. And so by the next garden tour, should be a lot more green over there.
Hopefully.
Yep, and just remember, if you feel behind, you're not. All you need is one good day, make it a priority, and you'll be caught right up.
That's right.
That's how we were, and now we're feeling much better about our gardening lives. So y'all, if you're new and you haven't subscribed, do that down below.
We love you.
Until the next one.
Bye.
Bye.